Who says that you can't wobble between indulgences and addictions? Being as my life has always been somewhere in the middle, my life has always swayed from one extreme to the other, getting a flavor of each extreme but not fully immersed in it, just enough to know what it feels like. I was brought up in a household where junk food was unfamiliar to one parent, but a common thing for the other. Frowned upon by one, adored by the other. So growing up, we weren't often exposed to soda, chips, or frozen foods. But when the other parent would be home, it was always a possibility. Late night taco runs or pizza brought by an uncle would be an unwelcomed, guilty pleasure. So whenever we had the opportunity to indulge outside of the home, we would. Or we would secretly bring home junk food with the hopes of not angering the other parent. This was the beginning of secrets unfolding when there is too much control. Food became a coping mechanism for me. I gained an incredible amount of weight within a 3-year period. Looking back, I think it had to do with the sexual molestation as my timeline shows. I vaguely remember not wanting to look attractive, so food became a source of comfort. You can only imagine what it would be like to be exposed to the foods we weren't supposed to have. Self-restraint was hard to do. Puberty hit, and my body became even more uncomfortable. By this time, I was struggling to sleep at night. I was about 10 or 11 when I first discovered the impact of putting pressure on my clit. I was running from my dog who was chasing me, and I quickly climbed a post of a clothesline in the backyard. The pressure of climbing up this pole surprised me, and I froze in place, allowing the rush of this unknown experience to overwhelm me. Immediate relief. I wanted to faint in exhaustion, but the barking brought me back, and I held on tighter to this experience between my legs. The relief was such that my body longed for it at night, as I laid wide awake in my bed, unable to sleep. Not knowing at the time the amount of stress I was holding within my body with all of my secrets, all I was wanting was to close my eyes and fall asleep. So taking the risk as I shared my bed with others, I would secretly try to recreate the same experience whenever I could. The rush was the one constant relief I could count on in my unpredictable world. This continued in secret throughout my adolescence, knowing I could always rely on it for relief. I started to lose some weight in high school, and when I started dating in secret, new sensations were stimulated. Then I met my ex-husband, and things were different. The safety in his home and his calm demeanor were enough to put me at ease. Still, the excitement of secretly having a boyfriend, because we technically weren't allowed to date until we were 18, was exciting. I was 18 the first time I had sex, and that's when it started. Secret outings, secret overnights, having sex in the car, in the back of a drive-in, and then indulging in all of our favorite foods: pizza, large burritos, tacos from Tacos del Rio in La Puente, burgers and fries, everything I wasn't allowed to have growing up, I indulged in with him. You see, he was raised differently than me. Junk food was a part of his upbringing, so he was used to it. I couldn't get enough of it. The sex, the food, the secret meetings, the excitement of possibly getting caught. It was exhilarating. We dated on and off for 7 years, and so the indulgences continued. We gained a lot of weight, but unfortunately, after the wedding, the sex slowed down and almost stopped. I indulged in food, and my ex would get upset when I would eat the family-sized bag of Doritos in one sitting. He knew how to balance his cravings, but not me. He'd get frustrated with me and started hiding bags of chips in his car instead of the house. Even more so when I focused on losing weight, because knowing it was inside the house would drive me crazy. So that's what I did. I focused on losing weight, thinking if I did, he might desire me again. I thought I looked great, but nope, it didn't work. Then I remembered my clit. I hadn't had to entertain my clit in a long time, and by this time, I was more involved in church, and things like this were frowned upon. I didn't know what to do. I tried to restrain myself. I tried to distract myself. And so, I indulged in my work, working late hours to not be home, because when I was home, I became invisible. So after 2 years, I noticed my unhappiness deepen. The affair was a lovely distraction. It was our research project. It's funny how we rationalize our choices to make them seem less shameful. We agreed to have rules and that our choices were a part of our research of exploration. It was all about sex and communication with each new experience. Every meetup was different. Not once was it ever the same. That's what made it exciting. The variation of how we would start it off. We were never disappointed. He knew how to touch me and he liked how I touched him. It was exhilarating and yummy at the same time. And whenever there was the slightest indication of normality, we change it up again. New location, new activities, new toys, and then there was porn. I had never considered porn before, so I entertained it with him. It was quite the experience, and I became addicted. Not to the point of it taking over my life, but definitely enough for me to entertain it when he and I weren't together, to make up for the disconnection of our bodies. More secrets, but such a release in an extremely stressful chapter of my life. So many times I tried to break it off, tried to go back to church, forcing my ex to come with me, tried to make my marriage work despite his refusal to go to therapy with me. I'd introduce what I learned in the affair, but it wouldn't last long. It didn't do the trick. My ex just wasn't into it. I internalized it, and I often thought, what was wrong with me that he didn't desire me? But then I would remind myself of the affair and the words he would tell me, reassuring me that I was desirable and beautiful and longed for. If this ever ends, it's because you choose for it to end, he said to me once. It was hard to not get emotional with him, but I was good about blocking my emotions. I was good about numbing that part of myself when I had to. During those years, I was able to compartmentalize my life, but our on-again, off-again cycle continued, and we continued to push the limits in bed. Food, masturbation, sex, and porn. My secret coping mechanisms at different times in my life, entertaining them in different degrees of intensity and in different ways. They all served a purpose in my life. I don't regret them, not a single one. They were exactly what I needed in those times of my life. I choose to believe that we come to this earth to experience life. And because life is on a spectrum, so too are our experiences. Our binary existence of right and wrong is changing. They are no longer the only two extremes we exist in, nor are they the only two boxes to judge ourselves with. The middle is widening. The balanced way is becoming more apparent. It is the way that allows you to look at your choices from a neutral perspective. One with compassion, with understanding, with no fault nor blame, no embarrassment nor shame. One of unconditional acceptance for what is and how something unfolds. It's just an experience to learn from when it is our time, an experience to expand from when we are ready, an experience that will help to redefine our lives moving forward. For we are where we have been, and where we are is only the starting point of where we are going. We cannot move forward without the experiences of our past. That is the balance, when you can look at the extremes and find appreciation for their purpose. For one cannot exist without the other. I appreciate my wobble between indulgences and addictions. I have learned a great deal about myself, my process, and where I am now going. Because at the end of the day, I will always choose me and my well-being. And choosing me means that I also choose all of my choices, however they unfolded. This is me choosing me unconditionally, for I am a living example of life, and I am learning how to love life without conditions. My name is Yubi, and this is my transformed truth. Thank you for watching You Becoming Healed, where I model and teach you how to own and transform your truth for healing. Until next time. Don't forget to join our weekly Q&A groups to ask your questions and learn how to better navigate your healing journey. Just to recap, we have the Dream Decoders group on Mondays, the Balanced Healing group on Wednesdays, and the Body Experts group on Fridays. Can't decide which one to join? No problem. Consider our core membership option, which gives you access to all three. All three groups start at 11 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. The links are found in the description box below. See you there!